Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another tarot spread video. I wanted to just kind of, I guess as a little disclosure or disclaimer, you don't have to use only tarot for different card spreads. You can use whatever cardomancy system that works for you or that you feel more connected to. But a lot of these have more of like a tarot spread intention, if that makes sense, just because tarot can be so nuanced and layered and can give you a little bit more in-depth opportunities to kind of dive a little bit deeper than, say, just the very like general kind of like oracle deck or things like that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the next step tarot spread. I know for a lot of people, this is something that can be very, I guess, generally helpful, especially if you're at a crossroads or if you're kind of feeling like you don't really know what to do, wanting to kind of figure out like what, you should focus on and what, comes next. So I'm going to be using the Learning Tarot cards because I just think it's nice to use something like this where anyone can kind of see some of the keywords and such of the cards and to kind of talk about what we have here. So I'm going to shuffle these guys really quick. And this is by Emerald Lotus Divination. That's where I found this. I like finding different types of tarot spreads, and these are tarot spreads that I use for my own kind of personal practice. So this is a 5-card spread. And the very first thing is that you are meant to consider a specific situation that you want clarity on. So this is just meant to kind of help you focus on, okay, what do I need clarity on? What am I lacking clarity on? What do I need to kind of pay attention to that's upcoming? So let's say I have a situation going on, and so I'll kind of focus on what is the next step for one of my businesses. So what is my next step? So here we go with card number 1 is what is my next step? These cards are always tattling on me. That's so funny. All right. Card number 2 is going to be what do I have to change? We have the Knight of Wands. Okay. Card number 3 is how can I change this? I have the 7 of Swords reversed. Oh my goodness. All right. And card number 4 would be, what do I have to continue doing? We have the 6 of Cups. Oh my goodness. These are going to be funny today. The cards are being goofy. These cards are always so goofy, honestly. They're so funny. All right. And then how my life will change as a result of this next step. The 10 of Cups. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to kind of do a sample reading so you can kind of see how I would interpret these cards and how it kind of all works with the specific questions. So again, let's say I was considering like what is the next step with like my business, like what should I do, and things like that. So card number 1 is what is my next step? So here we have the Tower, which is interesting because this is a card of like sudden upheaval, unexpected changes, disasters, having to rebuild, having to like essentially allowing the breakdown to happen. Because this is very much a card of like natural disasters, collapse of the old way of life, shattering false beliefs, things of that nature. So as someone that, tends to struggle a little bit with mental health and kind of a lot of anxiety, a lot of not to like tell all of myself, but I do tend to struggle a little bit with belief around success and things of that nature. This may be just kind of saying like my next step is that I really need to focus on the things that I need to surrender to, the things that I need to let go of, the things that are outside of my control. Which is something I do tend to struggle with in so many different areas of my life. because this is very much a card of like, again, chaos, destruction. It's the unexpected. It brings like disaster. It can bring a sense of like tragedy or things that feel very challenging that allow you to grow because of that breakdown, that kind of leveling things back down to the foundation. So with this being my next step, I think I would look at it as maybe I've struggled a little bit with like the resistance of, opening myself up to the possibility of things changing, of things being a little bit different. Maybe there's something here that's kind of saying like, hey, I need to learn how to just surrender to the things that are happening and not take it so personally or not feel like it's a personal failing, because that is something I tend to do. So I would definitely look at, where have I been resisting some of this energy? Now, if we want to kind of add in an astrological implication, if that makes sense, I am, my Mars is naturally in Taurus, or in my natal chart. It is my highest, it's in my 10th house at 29 degrees. So for those of us that like study astrology, it's like that Mars energy that maybe I do tend to struggle with a little bit. Just because it's almost saying like that is the highest expression of what I need to really be focusing on. And I do tend to focus on more of like the earthly things versus like the things that really like are my driving force, if that makes sense. Okay, so we go to card number 2. What do I have to change? So here we have the Knight of Wands. And so it's saying that maybe, I need to change being hasty, making quick decisions. Maybe I've, haven't really been paying attention to, am I doing this in a way that is honoring what my goal is? Am I being too hasty? Am I being too rash? Am I just kind of like acting out of, again, kind of like that Mars energy, just aggression and just kind of like, boom, making decisions too quickly without really thinking about how this will affect everything. And that is something I ended up having to deal with the consequences of, because I had kind of made a hasty decision and didn't really think it through, didn't really evaluate what would happen if things didn't like work out the way that I had anticipated. And so right now I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of like the fallout of everything. So if we look at, I'm not going to go into it super deep like I did with the Tower card, but the Knight of Wands, again, can be kind of this energy of like, have I really been going after things that I really actually am passionate about? Am I, following through? Am I allowing myself to be very like energetic about the things that I'm kind of adding into my life? And that is something that I've been trying to kind of consider recently. Am I just doing things because I can, or are they in alignment with the things that really speak to me? So that is something I'm trying to take into consideration at the moment. All right. So I guess it's telling me I do have to change. I do have to change, not just like just doing everything because I have the availability to do so, but really focusing on the spaces and places and things that actually speak to me on an energetic level, that make me feel like ready to kind of rise up to the challenge and to kind of go forth. So how can I change this is card number 3. And so this is going to be, So how can I change this? Sorry. I was looking at this and I was like, I put them in the wrong order. So this is supposed to be card 4 and card 5. My bad. All right. So this is 3, which was down here, which I didn't put it in the right position, but I'll fix it. Okay. So how can I change this? And here we have the 7 of Swords reversed. So this is talking about confessing, coming clean, turning over a new leaf, my conscience kicking in. And I think this is interesting because it's almost saying like maybe I don't need to feel like I'm having to withhold the truth to protect somebody else. Maybe I need to be aware that speaking on the truth doesn't mean that it is like a negative thing or something that is bad. And in professional settings, this is something that I think a lot of us tend to struggle with, because sometimes we are, like trying to remain professional. So we don't want to badmouth anyone, or, kind of talk about how we really feel about stuff, if that makes sense. That is something I have struggled with in a lot of different professional settings, where I can be very straight up, very honest. I can remain professional, but again, it's like I will not go out of my way to be someone's like friend, or to be something I'm not, in order to make other people feel comfortable. So this is almost saying like what I need to change is that I just need to be honest with myself and like my situation. That is something I've had to do a lot of reflecting on recently with one of my businesses, is to just be kind of like, okay, am I actually doing things that, make sense and that make me feel happy? In order for me to remain in the space of where I feel comfortable, maybe I just need to not be out there and adding other people into the mix, if that makes sense. So I've just rediscovered that I maybe work a little bit better as a solo person. Okay, so card number 4, because I put it in the wrong position earlier, is what do I have to continue doing? And so here we have the 6 of Cups, which is saying I need to return to my roots. I need to, look at the past influences, look at like what feels fun, what feels like simple, what feels like I can kind of share my gifts, where I can be more concentrated on my own family, where I feel more supported. And that is one of the biggest things that had influenced one of the decisions that I made last month, in order for me to feel a little bit more supported in what I was doing, and to be able to ensure that I was moving in the direction of what really truly makes me happy. So it is very interesting to get this card here, because it's almost saying like, this is when something's no longer fun to me, it's like I don't want to do it anymore. And so with one of my other businesses, it's something that is a lot of hard work. And so it requires a lot of like, you really have to enjoy it for you to be consistent, and for you to be able to provide the level of service that people expect. And so that is one of the things that I was like, hey, I was not having fun. I was not having a good time. I really need to focus on the things that feel more like this, and feel more like being able to kind of connect a little bit more to this personal energy, and to kind of show up in this, not just childhood like energy, if that makes sense, but more of just like having that past influence, being able to like enjoy things, being able to just kind of simplify it a little bit. I feel like the 6 of Cups is very much that, like just keeping it simple, having a good time. Now for card number 5, we have how my life will change as a result of this next step. We have the 10 of Cups. This is a card associated with a lot of like love and things like that. But I feel like this is almost saying like, this is happiness, like happy families, reunions, homecomings, long-term relationships. When I think of marriage, yes, a lot of people think of like, a physical marriage, but it can also be just a commitment to other relationships and connections with others. I think that this is very much about abundance, harmony, stability, security, like this card is talking about. It can really talk about that very much, like making things a little deeper in the connection sphere, if that makes sense. I think that this is very much a reminder of you get to have the life that you make, if that makes sense, in a lot of ways. Now, obviously, there's going to be some things that are outside of our control, but if my end goal is to really be supportive and to really like focus on the things that actually make me happy, so that I can really spread that happiness in other areas of my life, this card is kind of that like invitation to do so. So that is the next step tarot spread. I don't know if I should like just do this as an example with an oracle deck too, because I think that is something that some people like to do, that maybe they kind of feel like, well, I don't know how to do it like as a like oracle deck. So I'm trying to see of what oracle deck would I want to use. All right, I think we're going to do the Mystic Rebel oracle deck, and we'll do an example of it, so that way you guys can kind of see what this looks like with an oracle deck as well. And don't just say it's only tarot that I've been using, because I know not everyone is into using tarot spreads, and I don't try to just focus on just tarot spreads. All right. Okay, so again, card number 1 is going to be considering, we need to consider a specific situation that we want clarity on. I'll kind of do the same thing as I did before, just kind of wanting a little bit of clarity on my business next steps and what we need to do. So card number 1, what is the next step? So we have trust your intuition. All right, what do I need to change? For card number 2, we have patience and stillness. All right, how can I change this? For card number 3, change in direction. And then card number 4, what do I have to continue doing? Seek within. And then how my life will change as a result of this next step. For card number 5, new love. That's funny. They are very similar to the cards I pulled for, let me see, I'm trying to grab them again. I'm like, which ones were they? Okay, so we'll kind of put them back to back. That's funny because it's almost like the 6 of Cups was this one, maybe? And then 10 of Cups, yeah, this is how it was. Okay, so I'm just going to put them there so that way we can kind of see what the tarot cards were and how these are reading in comparison. So if you kind of want to see. So we have trust your intuition for what is my next step, which we have the Tower, which is chaos, destruction, whatever. When I think of trusting my intuition, it can kind of feel like a Tower moment. It's very much about getting to the base, getting to the foundation. But if we just kind of remove the message of the Tower and we just focus on trusting our intuition, my next step would be very much about, hey, are you listening to what you feel comes next? Are you prepared to do the things that may feel very uncomfortable or challenging? Are you prepared to kind of say, it just doesn't feel right, or, something here just isn't aligning with the way that I want? So I think having that trust your intuition card is perfect. Now, for what do I have to change? Patience and stillness, right? Kind of the opposite message in the sense of the Knight of Wands, where it's kind of saying like, hey, you're being too quick. You're, like moving into things, like you're just too focused on like the challenge versus, hey, you need to kind of like move back into trusting your intuition, having some patience and stillness. I'm going to cover that because I don't know if it's going to like get mad online. It's very much saying like, hey, are you taking time out to kind of reconnect and again, kind of like move into that energy of the intuitive kind of magic. Card number 3, we have change in direction. For what do I have, or how can I change this? It's almost saying like, hey, you need to stop going the way that you've been going. It's okay. I know that as someone that is really tries to be extremely consistent and very reliable and loyal, this is something I tend to struggle with when I have to kind of change my direction as far as like what I was doing. And I think it kind of like moves into very similar messaging from the 7 of Swords reverse, where it's almost saying like, hey, even if it doesn't feel like it's going the way that we want, it's having to make very hard choices about what you want moving forward and what that will look like. So it can feel very challenging at times. And then for card number 4, what do I have to continue doing? It like really wants to show, but so this is all about seeking within, which is interesting because here we have like returning to one's roots, so it's again very much about, are you tuning into yourself? Are you paying attention? Are you listening to that intuitive voice within yourself? Are you paying attention to what you have here? And while I will say that a tarot deck will give you a little bit more nuance, I mean, you can go as deep as you want with this reading, right? And then finally, for card number 5, how my life will change as a result of this next step, new love, which I feel is very much this energy of the 10 of Cups. Now, I know some people would look at this card as like, oh, this is like me finding my soulmate, this, that, the other. But for me, in my situation, I feel like this is more about finding that sense of reconnection, feeling very much like I have to be very like, I have to really love what I'm doing in order for me to do it and to do it well. And so I feel like this is almost saying like this reinvigorates that opportunity to kind of move into this energy and having that recommitment to the things that really speak to me overall. So that's how I would use an oracle deck with the same spread, or you can even use both, like how I did here, to kind of compare and see if the messaging is still very similar and maybe to add a little bit more depth or nuance to what you're reading. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me for this tarot spread video. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.